Greetings, traders, and thank you for joining with me today. This is Mohan from the Boomerang Day Trader and the Mohan's Market Force Precision Systems. I would like to thank you again for joining with me today. It's going to be an exciting webinar. I'm going to be putting a tremendous amount of information on Boomerang and all the work that I do within the first hour, ideally here. So I'm not going to be able to linger too much on certain things. However, after the webinar, if you care to stay on, I will be around to answer questions and go over everything in detail. Now, keep in mind, anything you see here, if you have a question, just hold that question, write it down, and shoot it off to me in an email at mohan@daytradersaction.com. You can email me anytime with questions. It's part of our service. It's free, just like these free webinars that I do, along with our regular video tutorials. So let's get started. First of all, a bit of history. As you can see here on my blog page, and by the way, as a default place to go for anything and any questions on my work, you can go right here to Boomerang Day Trader. We have a lot of resources there, but just remember that. I started trading about 24 years ago, back in the days when you had to call in your orders. There was no computer type of trading or anything like that, and you had to call in your orders, and the brokers would advertise, we have a one-ring policy. That was a big deal. You'd call them, you get one ring, boom, there they'd be. They'd answer your call, and you'd say, go ahead and this is account 5678, buy E-mini S&P 500 at the market. He'd put you on hold, you'd get your fill, and there you go. Then you just sit and sweat it out. He'd go, you want to put a stop on it? And you'd say, well, yeah, okay, put a stop here. And that was what you had. If you wanted to get out, you had to call back. Just to give you an idea, things are a lot easier now, a lot smoother and quicker, and it's quite exciting to be able to get in and out of a trade in about 1 second. It's quite a bonus compared to calling and being placed on hold, you can imagine. But that's the environment I learned to trade in. I'm telling you that because I'm encouraging you that to really get this business down. This is not a push-button type business like a lot of these advisors try to make you believe. You have to work hard. You have to learn how to trade. You have to learn what's going on in the market, and that's what I'm going to show you today. We don't try to sell you some $5,000 system that says, oh, just click and push this button here and you'll make 12 trades and make $24,000 or $2,400, I think it was. I got a promo today, and then I research a lot of these systems and things that come out. I've been doing it for 10 years, and of course I went over to purchase. Now I went to that area and the thing was $6,000 for the system. So be a little careful of these guys trying to sell you these kind of things. Our system is the lowest cost in history, and we're the top trading day trading program on NinjaTrader right now, have been for years. A lot of that's from referrals from other traders who've used Boomerang, and they really love it. Again, though, my history is that my main work, you should know this, my main work is I trade for myself. I do a lot of trading on the London exchange, which is in the wee hours of the U.S. Time frame. I trade on the euro dollar, the 6E, those type of contracts. And I also manage a small private hedge fund. And that hedge fund is very important to me, obviously, because I have people that rely on me to make the right trades in stocks, options, ETFs, things like that. So I trade across a whole array of things. During the day, I get up and I answer your questions. When I wake up, I answer questions, and I answer midday, take a little rest, answer some more later, and then at night up until I start working the London exchange, I answer questions and provide the service for Boomerang Day Trader, which is thrilling. During the course of that, several hours before the market opens, I am well known in the industry for my daily directional forecast, which I publish every night. Now, what's unique about the daily directional forecast, unlike any newsletter in history, is that I tell traders exactly where the market's going. That's right. I tell traders exactly where the market's going before the opening bell. Now, just to show you the proof of that, you can take a 1-month trial and go through our archives. Take your time and go through the archives very carefully, and you'll see 14 years of archives. That's how long I've been in the industry. So there's the proof right there. You just go over to this area here, the archives. Here's today's forecast. neutral, watching for support above 1621, now heading into the U.S. holiday weekend. We want to gauge the strength or weakness of any bounce out of Tuesday's lows that we watch for 1617 to 1621 to hold up. Well, this is today's action. The low was around 1625, I believe, 1624 half, I forget exactly. And the Dow at the peak was up 71 points. Coming into the close here now, the Dow's up 48 points. So what we would guess from this gauging of this was that, well, it was a weak bounce that kind of fizzled out a little bit, so probably still a little bit bearish. Here's the previous day's call. I always post the chart of my call along with the results right on the chart. There's no hedging. There's no games. I call the exact direction of the market, and I give exact specific areas to trade the market. Our trade here was neutral. This was yesterday, watching for a gap down hard with support at 1635 area for buy scalp. Notice how they kept coming down and hitting the 1635 area. 1635 quarter was the low. Now, this was from the night when I forecasted this, and the mini S&P 500 was up around 1650. How did I know that they were going to go to 1635 and catch support? Well, that's why you pay me for providing a service. Been doing it 14 years almost every day, you can imagine. The only time I get is when I take off to some exotic island and sit on the beach for a week or two, and then I don't have to think about this stuff. But those who got long, because I said 1635 area, you go ahead and hit your buy button at 1635, and they ran them up to 40.75. So there was, in 9 minutes, there was a 5-point gain within that. Once they busted down below 35 and kept holding, that's when they smashed them out yesterday. How about the day before? Full disclosure here. Let's see what we got here. Okay, here's the day before. Market's in a limbo zone. It continues in a limbo zone. Mixed indicators. Here's what we had. I stated in the briefing, market is still supportive. Now, this is when everybody's incredibly bearish. They're hearing about this war rhetoric out there. Everybody's incredibly bearish, but Mohan was bullish and calling for the market to be supportive in literally a sea of CNBC bearish guys coming out saying it's the end of the world. Mohan says the market is still supportive. We're in a limbo zone. Watch for generally whipsaw higher moves today. I can't spell. I don't know what. It's from doing this for 14 years, I guess. Look at this. Supportive action, a choppy. I called this market 6 hours before the market opened, and I stated exactly crystal clear what would happen, and that's exactly what did happen. So again, I'm not trying to do anything but show you that by getting a subscription to my daily newsletter, it's only $49 a month. My God, that's almost free. If you're trading the ES market, or I highly recommend you trade the NASDAQ market, you're going to find my newsletter be an incredible guide in addition to all the other tools that we provide on Boomerang and the High Five, which is on the site. What happened the previous day? I'll do one more just to show you. It's all the last 4 days, and it goes back 14 years of similar calls. Now, this was a beautiful call here. We said here, and I'm just going right in the chart, this is Monday's action, neutral. Mixed indicators continue in this limbo zone. If we are continuing a bearish trend, then we should see weakness today. I was pretty much thinking we were going to continue to see weakness. I said to go ahead. Because of that, the market force indicators were suggesting this. I said, go ahead and short them out there at 1665. That was our exact call 6 hours before the market opened in the briefing. 1665, you can see it right here. The high came in around 1667 half, I think, if I recall, or quarter. They pulled back for a scalp. Some of you want to scalp, but if you had faith in our briefing, which many of our hundreds of subscribers do, many who've been with me for 14 years, held on, and kablamo, you got to smash into the close there, and that would have been a really nice ticket. So I'm just giving you an idea of what we do in the daily directional forecast. I'm going to pop these out of here now, and we're going to go back, and I want to do this. I want to explain something to you about the markets. A lot of traders ask me, well, how does Boomerang operate when the market gets choppy or whatever? And I give this example. It's a very good example, I think, and I think you'll appreciate it. You can take a top pro surfer, the best in the world, number one, the guy who rides those big kahuna waves in Hawaii, that are 100 feet tall. Oh my God, I see those guys, I think, boy, now that's guts. That would be a good trader, that guy. Anyway, you can take that top pro surfer and you can put him on a flat ocean, and there's absolutely nothing he can do, no matter how good he is. Only an idiot would sit there and go, oh, look at, he's just sitting out there. He's not any good. He's not a top pro trader. Well, come on, give me a break. The market, or the ocean, if you will, is not giving us any waves to trade. Now, here's an example. These guys got all set up for this surf contest. They're ready to go. The girls had their bikinis on. The thing was ready to roll. All the guys got out in the water. Here they are. You can see all these little guys, spots here, these dots. That's the pro surfers entering this contest. They've been preparing for weeks and weeks. They get out there. Well, they had to cancel the event. Look at the water. They're just all looking at you. They go, well, what's up? Nothing. We can't do a thing. So keep this in mind. Boomerang does not control the markets. The markets control the markets, and the markets tell you where they want to go, and Boomerang tracks that with extreme precision and shows you how to place trades in it. So is that clear to you? I hope you understand that. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, really miss that. Look at these surfer guys. They're not mad. I mean, they're upset. These guys spent a lot of money to set this up, but it's the way it goes. That's the way the deal's panning out today. You see what I'm saying? Not anything anybody can do. So what I'd like to do is start now going over my services and explaining to you exactly what I do in the industry and how it can help you with your trading if you think it might. Look over everything. I never sell this program. I show you exactly what we do. I have a 14-year golden reputation in the industry of honesty and dedication, as you saw in before we started the webinar. I showed you the testimonials and everything, and those are all real testimonials from people. So I just want to tell you that to let you know I'll show you what I have. If you think it can help you trade, and I'll make some suggestions of how you can start out, especially if you're new, being a winning trader, then try some of our services. Start with my newsletter. It's a 1 trade a day newsletter. We're about 80% accurate on the calls, sometimes as much as 90%. I just showed you 4 days of 100% accuracy in calling the market. Got 14 years of archives. It might be something you'd want to look into for $1.50 a day. That's less than half of a round turn commission on one contract, which you're spending constantly as a trader, aren't you? Okay, thank you. Here's what I want to show you next. I showed it earlier while you're waiting. This is the CFTC risk disclosure. Everything I say today, everything I show you has to be stated as hypothetical unless I'm live trading here, and we don't have time for that. In the future, we may have some live trading webinars. But again, what if the market's flat like those surfer guys, So we have to just take it each day as it goes. However, my opinion and my view is that if you let the market be your trading room and let the market be the proof for you, let the market show you how to trade using Boomerang. That leads me to one thing is I get a question about something. We do not have a trading room. A lot of these guys operate these trading rooms in conjunction with selling their indicators, and they do that to make additional income, and you pay for that. You buy their indicators, or in some cases they will lease you the indicators for $350 a month, and you get the free room thrown in with that. But the problem is you pay for that and then you don't have anything after that. Plus they don't really teach you how to trade, and I'm not so much trying to bash or blame other vendors. A little bit I am on my soapbox because there's so many frauds out there, blatant frauds who don't trade themselves. They just come in and invent some slick indicators and try to sell them to you. I need to throw that out there because I'm on your side. I'm trying to prove to you that I'm on your side. We're the top selling day trading software on Ninja and lowest cost in the industry. So there you go. Plus my daily newsletter, you can see me making exact crystal clear trades, not only live, I'm giving those calls hours before they occur and their exact numbers. So again, I can only show you so much proof to try to help you understand that I'm here to help you become a winning trader. Okay, you ready? Let's get started. Here's a chart here. This is a plain chart. Now, if you were looking at this chart, this is a NASDAQ on 450 ticks. 450 ticks is our standard Boomerang Day Trader, which, by the way, prior to that was known as Boomerang Currency Trader. I changed the name to Boomerang Day Trader. It's the exact same thing. So all those testimonials apply to trading the currencies, NASDAQ, ES, gold, silver, crude oil, DAX, all of those. But by the way, some people ask me, why 450 ticks? I go, well, you can trade whatever time frame you want on Boomerang, and most indicators will correlate very well. But I spent years, not weeks like some of these guys, or a few months, years correlating and testing in live personal trading over and over and over with some size on what configuration gives the market the maximum amount of exposure to a day trade, yet correlates closer with the higher time frames. In other words, you can throw a 1 minute chart on here and you're going to see the same move, but it's going to be a lot of erratic 1 minute bars flying around. So there was an attempt by using 450 ticks. I kept thinking, no, it's got to be tighter. It's got to be tighter. And I kept coming back to 450 ticks being the winner. So it's important you know that when you go to buy Boomerang Day Trader. You can use any time frame you want. You can experiment with higher time frames or lower high time frames. This is the default. It's very valuable. I've put a lot of time into it, so have some confidence in my work. Where would you trade in this chart? Kind of difficult to tell, isn't it? Remember, though, a lot of people ask me, well, are your indicators leading indicators? I go, there's only one leading indicator, and that's price. When this price hits here and it starts moving down, that's the leading indicator. I have extremely precision indicators, which I'm going to show you in a second, and I'm going to go over the details of how they operate. And they are incredible. You will develop great intuition in using them, so you'll know exactly where to trade. You'll know how to use Boomerang, just like a surgeon uses his tools. His first 10 operations are going to be a little bit more serious, but after he's done 100, 200 operations, he knows his tools and his people surrounding him and his everything like the back of his hand. Similarly, another example is an air traffic controller. They are surrounded by gauges and tools, some that are very, very minor and subtle, some that are urgent, important, but they don't just sit and gaze at one indicator. Their job, our job, is to look at all the important key indicators to develop a feel for what we need to do in any situation in the market. And that's what we teach you with Boomerang Day Trader. We show you how to trade, and we show you why the market may be doing what it's doing. Do you see what I mean? Big difference in buying a software that just, the guy tells you, you just push the buttons and you make money. Well, that's fine, but what do you do when the market falls apart like it has recently and the push buttons aren't working and you paid $5,000? You need to know where the market's going to survive. Did you hear that? You can buy another system that seems easier to operate, but you want to get over this. I want it to just be real simple and easy, and I just push a few buttons and that's all I have to do. You're not going to make it in this business. I can tell you that right now. If you're thinking that now and you can't let that go, that idea, you're not going to make it in this business. I sell and offer Boomerang Day Trader by showing you how simple it is to operate everything. And yeah, we get a lot of sales, a lot of referrals from that. But I don't focus on that. I'm very honest. I tell you, there are some very simple rules to follow. But in addition to the simplicity of Boomerang, you need to learn how to trade these markets. You need to know what's going on. Then when you look at Boomerang, oh my God, it all makes all the sense in the world. So with that glorious introduction, I will bring up Boomerang Day Trader right now. This is the current Boomerang Day Trader as we're seeing it. This is today's market right now, coming into the close and everything. I'm going to go over the last 4 sessions with you. Not 3 months ago that I picked out, handpicked to look really good like some of the guys or a lot of them do. I'm going to show you the last 4 days, the exact stuff that Boomerang would have showed you had you bought it yesterday and you were trading with it today. You see what I'm saying? Okay, now here's the details. Now I'm using a cursor here, which I found comes out really good on the GoToWebinar service. Just for now, I'm going to change over to a pointer. If you're looking to do this, you right-click on the chart, go to Cursor, and click Pointer. We also help you with instructions on how to use NinjaTrader and how to become really adept at using NinjaTrader. I answer all your questions for free if you have questions, but most of our video tutorials and things provide that for you. So, I showed you my daily directional forecast. That's one of our services. The other is Boomerang Day Trader, which you see before you here. I have a day trading course, which I did just recently. It's incredible. I put a lot of work into it. It's over 4 hours of detailed instructions on everything you need to know to day trade the markets with Boomerang Day Trader. The cost, $195. Most guys would charge you, I guarantee, I know this industry, they charge you $1,000 to $2,000. It's $195, and get this, it comes with my Precision Trade Guide indicator, which is worth $20,000 over your career easily alone, and that comes free with my trading course. Just as a quick side issue, if you wish to purchase any of these items, go to my blog at boomerangtrader.com. You can purchase Boomerang Day Trader. It's $11.95. We have an entire package here that's worth $1,800, which includes a course and everything, for $13.95. This shows you here about the Precision Trade Guide and the course, and you can purchase that here. And I have another indicator that I call Hyper Scalp. Now, Hyper Scalp is very, very specific. It doesn't give buy and sell signals or anything like that. It can if you know how to use it. But I developed Hyper Scalp for the purpose of teaching traders and showing them in a crystal clear visual how to understand divergence. There are two concepts you need to understand if you're going to be a day trader. If you try to avoid these or think it's too much work or it's too complicated, you're not going to make it in this business, my friend. I'm telling you that again as your trading friend. You need to understand divergence, and you need to understand the Elliott wave patterns in the day trading market. It's very simple to learn, and once you learn it, you're going to go, oh God, why did I avoid this? This is so simple, and it tells you, you can see the market setting up exactly, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. So if you wish to purchase any of those indicators, there's videos here and everything on them, and shows you exactly how it works. We disclose everything so you're crystal clear. So that's it. I have my daily directional forecast, number 1, Boomerang Day Trader system, number 2. I have my trading course, number 3, which comes with the free Precision Trade Guide, which I'll show you a little later. And I have 2 enhanced indicators, Hyper Scalp, which is very specifically for reading divergence and the E-waves in the market. And I have brand new, the dynamic trend bands, which has revolutionized Boomerang practically for a lot of traders. And I'm going to go over that with you right now. Okay? So I wanted to get that out up front. Here's our indicator. A lot of guys will do a heavy presentation and show you, wow, look at all those winning trades. Then they'll roll into the price presentation. I just wanted to get that out of the way because that's very important. In fact, let me tell you a quick story. It's worth it to know this. Back when Anthony Robbins, the great neurolinguistic programmer, first started, and by the way, go on the internet and watch his videos for free. Anthony Robbins, brilliant. Some of you may like him, some of you may not, but you got to understand, he is number one. He's brilliant. I was one of the first people to go to his webinars back in the 80s where he was doing this thing where he'd build these 15-foot long pits of 2,000-degree hot orange and red coals. And I went to the seminar. I said, well, it made me scared the hell out of me to think of doing that. But I said, I'm going to go to this seminar, and I'll see what it's all about. And he started talking that night. It was a 3-day seminar. And I said, well, this is good, and I'll think about it all weekend about walking on these coals. And he finished talking, and I was so thrilled on that first night. And he said, by the way, we're going to go. I've got all the coal pits ready in the back now. It's a full moon night. We're going to go walk on the coals tonight and get that out of the way. You see what I mean? And everybody's heart kind of sunk and went, oh, I thought I had all weekend to think about it. Well, after he finished, he told us that, and then he finished his talk. And when he was done, I was the first one in line to walk over the hot coals, and it was thrilling because I did it, and it didn't burn. My feet didn't melt or anything, and it was just tremendous. So similarly, I just got all the hot coals of here's the price of Boomerang. It's the lowest in the industry. We're the top-selling software on NinjaTrader. Incredible. And you can get it for a very, very low non-gouge cost, and you'll be thrilled. Okay, so here we go. I showed you the plain chart. I showed you Boomerang Day Trader right here. Now let's go over some sessions. By the way, I do want to point out one quick thing that you can do this as a supplement to today's webinar. If you go over here to special package price offer, this is a webinar that I did with NinjaTrader. It was sponsored, called Trade Like a Pro, and this was just last week or week and a half ago. If you watch this webinar here, you will see on NASDAQ, which is my favorite contract for trading the stock indexes, I showed traders about 3 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks of exact precision. I went over very slowly trades on Boomerang Day Trader, and it was on NASDAQ. And during that approximate 2.5 week period, on 4 contracts, because NASDAQ trades at $5 a tick, so it's very low entry, made $9,300 hypothetically, because it's, I was just demonstrating it, but $9,300, and that would have been like you would have needed like a $3,000 account to trade that. All in during the day, no holding overnight, $9,300 after commissions on 4 contracts. That's the kind of returns you can make if you trust me when I show you on NASDAQ how well this works on Boomerang Day Trader. I know. What about gold and crude oil? I already explained to you. It works on all that. It works on the bonds and everything. It works excellent on all those. We have hundreds and hundreds of traders using Boomerang on gold and crude oil. However, there's so much information on the stock market that you can gather with NASDAQ and all. So you have a lot of information. Gold and silver, there's less information. You got to become expert on the different mining reports and the things that will affect that market to spike it around. Similar with crude oil, 1 minute they're telling us crude's going to drop, and then they start the war rhetoric, and boom, there goes crude up. So all I'm saying is there's daily action on NASDAQ. There's daily action on the ES too, but ES has gotten a lot more rigged lately. Okay, so let me go over the indicators. First of all, here's Hyperscalp down here. This is Hyperscalp. This is the bias index 2 right here, and this is bias index number 1. I'm going to go back to my cursor. I right-click on the chart, and I go over to cursor, crosshair. I'm going to go back to the crosshair for a reason. First of all, you can see here on this chart, this is today's coming into the close. I'll just stick with this. I'm just going to show you the indicators. Let's open these up a little. What we do is we tend to take trade. Now, Hyperscalp is going to front run a bias move in the markets here. When it's backed up by bias indicator number 2 and bias indicator number 1, bias indicator number 1, we're just looking for gray histograms or colored histograms on the same side of the 0 line. You see that? Notice how here the histogram moves below the 0 line. This is painted red here, and Hyperscalp is turned red. All those are bearish right here, and the market starts coming down. You see that works? Those are our only indicators. Everything's right here on the chart. Now, on the chart price proportion here, we use a precision trade signal line right here. That's this thin dashed line that I developed, which is the motor for coloring the bars according to bias. So this is a very fast precision bias on the trade signal line, and we also use it for trading pullbacks to the signal line. So we don't just enter on, like for example, these arrows signal the opening. These are called trade channels. You have a white line and you have a red line, which is the slower line of the trade channels, and they're colored to give you a crystal clear visualization of what's going on. This is a bearish one. The arrow's pointing down. So what we do is we take a trade to the pullback on the signal line right here. See that dot? That dot's going to show up instantly on your chart. It's alarmed and marked so you know exactly where to get in. We usually like to get on the first 1 to 3 dots or taps in the signal line. All we do, this is what we use for Boomerang Day Trader. It's called the Chart Trader on Ninja. It's not a dome or anything. You can use a dome if you want, but it's very, very simple. Buy at the market, sell at the market. That's all we use. If you want to get fancy and try and use a bid and ask and you're familiar with that, fine, but frankly, we just use buy at the market, sell at the market, flatten out, which is where you close the whole position, and in some cases, you may want to just hit the reverse button. If you're long 3 and you just all of a sudden immediately, like say you got long here, for example, and I'll show you why this was not an actual trade, because we have 3 simple rules, which I'll go over in a second. But say you got long in here, you weren't following the rules for whatever reason, you got long in here and all of a sudden it reversed, you just hit reverse and it'll reverse your entire position to that side. Okay, so I wanted you to be sure that's what we use for that. Also on the charts, you have the trade signal line, you have the trade channels, and a recent addition which I came up with after many, many months of research. It's unbelievable. It's totally revolutionized. I'm going to show you the rules in a second here. These are called the dynamic trend bands. We have a slower moving one here, which is this thicker cyan and magenta colored line, because we want to have it in contrast to red and green as the normal buy and sell or bullish bearish colors. So, and then you have the faster one here, which is showing that. Now you can see as I scroll back over the charts, you can see when the color changes occur here. Like for example, on the fast line, look how the prices just move under that and how they cross over to the upside and they swoosh back up. And then the color, they come back under that and the color changes here and down they go. It's incredibly accurate. Then they change right here. They cross over here and they swish up again. And then they cross back under this line and they go back down again. It's tremendous accuracy. But we have to have precision rules, and we're not going to just trade on these crossovers, although those would be profitable. We want to set tight stops on everything so we can protect ourselves. So let's go back over today's session now that you've seen all the indicators. And again, this webinar is going to be recorded. I'm going to finish this up in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So we'll have all the information for you. You can stop and start it and go back over it easy. Now, this is a West Coast chart, PST, Pacific Standard Time. So if you're used to the New York Standard Time, just add 3 hours. Opening time is 6:30 here on the West Coast, which is 9:30 on the East Coast. That's the standard NYSE opening time, right? Okay, again, this is NASDAQ, our recommended contract for day trading. You can get, if you're brand new at trading, you can practice on Ninja's market replay and just record and replay the market and practice. And then when you want to start, you can just trade one contract, move at $5 a tick. It's very difficult to get hurt at $5 a tick when you're starting out. That way you just get the feel for trading live with real money without torturing yourself and having the market move against you because you're not experienced enough. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm recommending that you do, is just learn on the simulator if you're brand new. If you're experienced, then Boomerang is going to be a no-brainer for you guys. If you're new, you can start in the simulator and then just trade one contract until you get real familiar with it and you see small gains coming in. You get real familiar. Then you can add 2. And then you can go for up to our recommended level of 4 as you really develop yourself. And like I said, I showed you that 3-week result, which you can see again on the blog. You can watch the webinar by Ninja Trader that I did, and you can see 3 weeks of results with a tremendous return of almost $9,300. Okay, so we don't look for the first 10 minutes. You let the market play out for the first 10 minutes at least. That's my recommendation. And you can see there was some whipsaw here. We're not concerned about that. Here's the simple rule for trading Boomerang. This is the core method. It's the only method I want you to even think about today. Not even worry about any other ideas or methods except for this core method. If you do this and you do it right, you can have results like I showed on the Ninja webinar. The white line, which is the rim of the trading channel I showed you a minute ago, when the white line crosses the dynamic trend band number 2, which is this thick line, not the dotted dash one, but the thick line, and you have a matching dynamic trend band number 1, which is this dash line, and these two lines are within a reasonable close proximity. Now, on NASDAQ, that's usually around 2 to 2.5 points, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that. You take, when the white line crosses the dynamic trend band number 2, number 1 has the same color. Now, the dynamic trend band number 2 doesn't matter whether it's the same color or not. It will eventually match the color if the trade's going to be right, as you can see right here. The color changes instantly here. Everything's matching, and you get a surge. And then once that white line, which is right here, crosses over, you get a pullback to the signal line. We don't take a trade up here. We take a trade right here when it pulls back to the signal line, and the alarm goes off and says, boom, ding, you buy. You go over here and hit buy. That's it. Because I've designed the system to account for slippage and things, so it's not a big deal. That entry on this trade today, this is today, after about close to 7-8 minutes into the opening. If you wanted to wait for 10 minutes, the trade might have got away from you, but I'm just showing you the example here. Your entry would have been at 3.063 even, maybe 6.75. We're looking for 3 to 4 points on NASDAQ, generally 3. And that, again, depends. If the volume's really strong and the market's really swinging and the weight ranges are wider, you can go for more points. It's just like that surfer example. On a flat ocean, you might only want to look for 3 ticks. Flat market. Tight ranges, tight range-bound market. You have to know how to read the market. A guy who says, well, I go for 8 ticks. Really? So on a flat market, you're sitting there, you're getting cut up all day because you're waiting for 8 ticks, and that market's not going to give it to you. You see? You have to adjust according to the market. We show you how to do that. It's very simple. I'll show you in a minute. Pull back the signal line, easily 8 points. There's no trade here yet because why? Little quiz for you. The white line is not crossed under the dynamic trend band number 2. Where it is right here, it has. And you have the arrow showing the new sell channel, right? Here's the pullback to the signal line, 69.75, and down they go for another easily. That was a 6-point move. We're looking for 3 to 4. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is we have built into our system, highly intuitive. See these triangles here? These are called the bias accelerator alerts. So when you get a setup with a bias accelerator alert on it, they're about 65% accurate that the market will surge once that prints. It's based on a complex chart pattern formation. And most likely that in most cases, here's another one here. Here's one here that failed. Here's one here that was successful. Here's one here that was super successful. Here's one here that was you had a little back and forth here. So both of these didn't work. See what I'm saying? Here's one here that was incredibly successful. Here's one here right at the top that was also successful. So I'm just showing you. They're about 65% accurate, maybe closer to 70%. I developed this with my brilliant web programmer, and we include it in Boomerang, and it could be traded alone as a system, and it's incredible. It's free, included in Boomerang. Nobody in the industry has this. It's an industry first. So we got 2 winning trades in a row, right? Now, let me get into the rules a little bit. Here's an important rule. when the white line crosses over the dynamic trend band number 2, you want to see dynamic trend band number 2 not only matching color, but be in a tighter range up here with dynamic trend band number 2. That's going to keep you out of whipsaw. Notice this whipsaw, white line crossed here, crossed back over here. Now, this crossover here wouldn't matter because you're in a buy channel, but the point is, here's what I want to show you. This is vital to those who, especially who already own Boomerang and are trading with the dynamic trend bands. Here's the crossover right here. I put my cursor up there, my crosshair cursor, and it says 69.5. You see that on the far right of the chart? I go down right here, right at the crossover, 69.5, and it says 65.75. That's almost 4 points a NASDAQ difference. Now, this just applies to NASDAQ. I haven't calculated this out for the other contracts, but I can show you how to do that if you buy Boomerang and you're going to use it for gold or crude oil or whatever. I'll show you easily how to do it. It's very simple. This trade should have been avoided. Why? Because here are the rules. Number one, the trend band should probably be on NASDAQ somewhere within 2.5 to 2 points within the crossover in order to validate the trade. There's only 3 rules. I want you to write that one down. The dynamic trend band should, and this is on NASDAQ, your career, your future career as a trader, working out of your home, should be within 2.5, 2 points, closer the better, to the dynamic trend band number 1 on the white line crossing over in order to take the trade. The second rule is to not trade against a steep dynamic trend band number 2, and I'll show you an example in a minute. Do not trade against a steep dynamic trend band. You have to wait and let it flatten out just a little bit to validate it, and you watch for this rule of having the number 1 close to number 2 when the white line crosses over. Rule number 3 is you avoid spiky whipsaw markets. Now, listen, people ask me, well, what about choppy markets? What about that? I go, what about it? It's like the surfer on the ocean. You know, what if all he's got is 2-foot waves all day? He can't do his thing. We train you how to avoid choppy markets. The first, I'm going to show you right now exactly how we do that. This is rule number 2. Avoid a choppy market scenario. It's first of all, it starts with spiked candles like you see here. See that's down here and it's leaping higher, then it's leaping back. Candles are changing color. Now there's very subtle nuances in this trade signal line to color the candles. You see these whipping back and forth. Oh, now they're red after turning bullish here. Then they spike back up here. This is a trade in most cases you're going to want to avoid. Now, another tool to reading the choppy markets, and this is a little more complex, but it won't be trade by trade, but as you build a volume meter, and I showed you earlier while you're waiting to come on to the webinar, on our blog, under resources, it'll show you how to build a trading a volume meter. This is an 8-period average volume. This is the existing 1 minute. It's all used on a 1 minute chart volume, and this is an ADX. Again, go over and read that on the blog. It's free. Every single one of you, whether you buy Boomerang or not, you better be using a volume meter, because if you are not aware of what the volume is, you're trading with your eyes closed. Volume is the lifeblood of the markets. So you better have a volume meter there or really understand how to read volume if you're putting trades on. So one of our rules then, don't trade in choppy markets. Now keep in mind, notice how at this point the white line, okay, crossed over again, but this spike up here formed what we call a fat channel. And we don't want to take those trades generally. They're just, the market is choppy and spiking around, and it's a waste of time. Now, not always. Some trades will work out. I'll give you an example. Here's the white line crossing over the dynamic trend band number 2 again. Very, very simple. It's the same old routine. Now, notice here, on the crossover, Dynamic trend band number 1 is at 69.75 and 68.25 on number 2. See, that's tight there. So had you said, well, it's a fat channel, I'm going to wait for pullback, here's one of my little secrets that I'll tell you. If you get this type of move, and these are close together, then what you want to do is look to trade a pullback either to one of the dynamic trend bands or the red line. In this case, all three of them got hit right here on this spike move down. You could have bought them at 71, 70 half, or 70 quarter, right in that area. If you got 70 half, 71, 70 quarter, the move went up to 75, 75. So you got your 5-point move after all using that simple little trick. The key was what? Yeah, it formed a fat channel. It was spiky, but you had the dynamic trend band 1 and 2 close together with the white line crossing over. You're just going to grab a stronger pullback to counteract that fat channel move there. Okay, now we're watching again to see what happens. Well, they don't want to go up today. This is today's action. They're still choppy, although it was bullish, and I forecasted that as I showed you earlier in my daily directional forecast. Still, these bears are trying to keep thinking the market's bearish right now. Well, it's turning around, so we'll have to see how things go tomorrow. White line crosses the dynamic trend band. 73 on the crossover on number 1. Or what was it here? 73 and 74.50, $1.50. You see that? It's tight. So go ahead and take the next trade to the pullback to the signal line, which was right here on the. See that dot right on the line? We always like to open these up. I always do. A lot of these guys show their stuff and they got everything like it looks like this. You know what I mean? They say, "See, we would have bought there." Where? I can't see anything. Here's what I like to do it this way. White line crossed here. See that? New sell channel. The dynamic trend band is at 72.5 at that point, 74, 75. So about 2 1/4. That's okay. Pull back to the signal line. The first one was right here. Now this is all happening in micro precision here. 72.75. You might have got this one at 72.5. You might have taken this one at 72.75. Down they come to 67.75. for a 5-point gain. 3 winning trades in a row on Boomerang Day Trader. No, I'm sorry. That was the 4th. If you followed this rule on the fat channel, that would have been the 4th winning trade in a row. No losses so far. And they do happen sometimes. But if you do this right, you'll be able to minimize them. It's a very extremely accurate system. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit here. White line crosses the dynamic trend band number 2. 73.25, 71.50. It's within a 2.5 point range. That's close enough for rock and roll. You get the pullback to the signal line occurred up here. So they did kind of take off. So you can take this signal right here or just tell yourself, well, they kind of shot up here. Let me get a little better pullback. So maybe trade back into the trade channel, focusing on the first band that would be come into view, which would be the dynamic trend band number 2. Somehow you could have taken this at 76 even. They pulled back to 74.5 into the trade channel. Somewhere in here you could have gotten long, and they shot up again for trade number 5, winning trade today's market on NASDAQ in a row. Now, I'm glad this showed up here because this gives us a good example. This is very important, and this is important information for you to write down right now, especially if you own Boomerang and you're trading with the dynamic trend bands. White line crosses the dynamic trend band number 2 as per our rules, but look at this. And dynamic trend band 1 is turned the magenta color, which is bearish. However, look at this. As soon as that crossover occurs, put your cursor right up there, 81 1/4, and look at that, 84. Do you see that? 81 1/4 or 81 on dynamic trend 2, and up here is 84. Almost 3 points difference. Wait. Don't take the trade. It's going to chop most likely. It's not going to be a solid trade. Just be patient and wait. Sure enough, they started chopping back. The trend channel change. We even got a counter bias accelerator alert. I mean, it was some real whipsaw here, but we avoided that, didn't we? Because we measured the dynamic trend band distance. Now, when it crossed over again, you see that? We got a recross of the white line, and this is not a buy trade. It's not that we go long here because we still have this configuration trying to get short and the dynamic trend band short. But when we see this crossover again, now look at the measurement here. 82.5, 84, within a buck and a 1.5. That's your sign. Pull back a signal line right here and a hard, fast slam to the downside. 6 winning trades in a row today on Boomerang Day Trader on NASDAQ. Now, good. Another example. Thank you, market, for showing me that. I didn't randomly pick this. I'm just taking today's action so I can show you on the webinar. Dynamic trend bands here, widespread. Little quiz for you. The white line crosses over a dynamic trend band number 2. What do? Well, we go here and we measure 79.5, and where is dynamic trend band number 2? Even though it's turned bluish cyan colored, 79.5, 74, forget it. Don't take the trade. It's not going to pan out as well. You see that? See how that saved you from getting in a trade that wasn't going to work? No trade here. You say, well, what if it didn't, see, it never set up again. Everything changed to blue, but it never went anywhere. So that simple rule saved you. Now look what happens here coming into the close. Now generally, we're not going to trade Boomerang into the close. Generally, the final hour, you want to avoid the final hour. But I'm just showing you this as an example because this is exactly what happened while you're waiting for the webinar to start. Those of you got in early, which I appreciate. Okay, same thing. White line crosses under the dynamic trend band number 2. Right where the cross occurs, you have 79.75, and number 1 is at 82. So, let's see, 79.75, 2.25. That's tight enough. That's okay. That's tight enough. And of course, when they come down here and it hits the trade signal line, it had tightened to even less. So this is tight enough. You know, like 2.5 or less is good on NASDAQ. Trade the exact signal line here. Notice how that was the top of the move. We didn't jump in up here. We waited for our precision indicators to tell us to trade the signal line. Again, this dot here is alarmed and marked on your chart. You will have no confusion as to where to get long or short. And I've already factored in slippage, so don't worry about it. Just buy, or in this case, sell at the market, 78.25. Say we got filled at 78 or even 77. 78.25. Say we got filled at 77.5. No big deal from some slippage. Down they came, 71.5, and into the close. Sliding into the close. That was the weaker Dow and everything into the close. Kind of calling a question mark as to whether this market's ready to reverse. I think it might be, but you know, we got this war rhetoric, so it's causing a problem. So what I've just showed you today is I showed you about our services. I show you the exact services that we have, which are very few, just the newsletter, Boomerang, and 2 enhanced indicators, and my day trading course. All very low cost, extremely low cost for the absolute best education from a 24-year trader who operates his own hedge fund, private hedge fund, and trades himself for a living. You see what I'm saying? And as far as, well, your trades, I call trades in advance on the daily directional forecast. I've been doing it for 14 years. I'm the only advisory in history that tells traders exactly where the market's going the next day long before the opening bell. So with all that credibility, I hate bragging and tooting my own horn. If you're a trader, you know what I mean. I mean, it's a kiss of death for a trader to be conceited because that next trade is going to clean all that conceit right out. But I'm a vendor, you know, and I love that word. I laugh at it. I think, what is that, like an ice cream vendor? Or I was at the fair recently, you know, I took some handicapped friends to the fair just as one of the thing I do on the side. You know, I'm a musician and I also work with handicapped people. I took a bunch of them to the fair and, oh man, you should have seen their faces. But those are vendors to me, you know, the caramel apples and the foot-long wide donuts and all this. Those are vendors, and I always laugh when I hear myself or people say, "Well, you're a vendor." I go, "What, ice cream or what kind of vendor?" I don't know. Anyway, point is, I am doing this gig here for Boomerang Day Trader. It's the best software in the industry, I believe. Of course, I invented it, so I'm going to be biased a little bit. But we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of traders, over 1,000 who've purchased Boomerang, and I showed you the testimonials. They've tested it. They referred it to their friends. They think it's good. And in addition to that, I just showed you exactly how it works. I explained each indicator. I showed you the subtle nuances. I gave you simple rules, and I gave you a brief tutorial on how to avoid choppy markets. I will eventually do a more extended webinar just on how to avoid choppy markets. You know, that's important, but it's as basic as just bringing up that volume meter. You can build your own volume meter. Just go to our blog, and I'll show you this again just so you know. Go to our blog, boomerangtrader.com, go to resources, and there are 2 articles. And when it says Boomerang Currency Trader, just know that that was the older name. I changed it in late 2011 to Boomerang Day Trader. So it's the exact same thing. Go to how to build a volume meter and caution choppy range-bound markets. Let's add ADX to our volume chart. So those 2 articles will show you exactly how to build a volume meter. Whether you buy Boomerang or not, it's free. You must build a volume meter, even if you don't have NinjaTrader, which you should. But if you don't, and you have eSignal or something else, you can easily build the same exact volume meter on those. You must know where the volume's going every day to avoid choppy markets and what levels on ADX and volume that are going to tell you in crystal clear visual language. Stay out. There's not enough going on here. It's the surfer on the wave, top professional surfer with a flat ocean. He can't do anything about it. So thank you for joining with us today, and I'll now take your questions.